The jungle was restless that evening. Clouds rolled in, heavy and swollen, painting the sky in deep crimson. The air carried the taste of iron, sharp and metallic, as if the heavens themselves were bleeding. Thunder rumbled across the treetops, not like a storm, but like the growl of something alive. The ground trembled beneath unseen weight, shaking leaves loose from branches. Birds scattered, screeching, abandoning their nests in terror. Then, through the swirling mist, a pair of blazing eyes flickered open, bright and hellish, glowing against the storm. When the shadow moved, trees bent under its bulk. Its jaws parted, and a roar ripped through the jungle, drowning out the thunder. Blood already dripped from its teeth. The Bloodmaw Rex was awake. Far from the jungle's heart, villagers gathered around a crackling fire, their faces lit by orange light. Old men and women leaned closer, their voices hushed with fear as they told the same story passed down for centuries. They spoke of the Bloodmaw, a predator not born of this world, but cursed to rule the jungle until the last drop of blood dried. Its maw was said to hunger eternally, feasting not just on flesh, but on the life force of its prey. One hunter recalled how his brother entered the forest during the blood moon and never returned. Another swore. She heard screams that lasted for hours before being abruptly cut short. The villagers warned outsiders, "Do not follow the Crimson Trail. Do not hunt when the sky turns red. The Bloodmaw Rex chooses its victims. It does not forgive." Yet still, strangers dismissed it as folklore, never realizing that the jungle wasn't theirs to conquer. The explorers were confident, armed with rifles, machetes, and lanterns. Their maps promised treasures. Fossils worth millions, relics older than human history. They laughed at the villagers' warnings and pressed deeper into the dense foliage. But as night fell, the jungle shifted. The air thickened, suffocating, the buzzing of insects vanishing into dead silence. Then came the vibration, low, steady, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Branches snapped in the distance, each crack closer than the last. The stench followed soon after. Copper, rotting meat, and something older, fouler. One explorer swung his flashlight and froze. Between the trees, a monstrous head emerged, scales glistening wet with blood. Its jaws opened slowly, strings of crimson saliva stretching between teeth as long as daggers. The Bloodmaw Rex had found them. Chaos erupted. The group scattered, weapons firing blindly into the night. Bullets cracked against trees, but the jungle seemed to swallow the sound. The Rex was faster than they imagined, a blur of muscle and bone-crushing power. One man sprinted, tripping over roots, but before he could rise, a colossal claw pinned him down. His scream ended in a spray of blood as jaws closed around him, ripping his body apart with terrifying ease. Another climbed a tree, trembling, thinking height meant safety. But the Rex lunged upward, its teeth snapping through bark and flesh alike. His body fell in two, lifeless before it hit the ground. The survivors ran, but everywhere they turned, the jungle twisted them back into its path. The Rex wasn't just hunting, it was playing with them. By dawn, 3 survivors remained. Exhausted, shaking, and bleeding from cuts, they pushed deeper into the wilderness. Hope flickered with every step, but fear grew stronger. For wherever they went, blood marked the ground ahead, thick, wet, fresh. One bent down, touching it with trembling fingers. It wasn't theirs, it wasn't even human. It was from animals, dozens of them, spread deliberately across the paths. The realization hit like ice. The Rex was leading them, funneling them further into its territory. Every trail they chose ended in more blood, more silence, more signs of slaughter. The jungle wasn't their enemy. It was the beast's lair, and they were trespassers inside its feeding ground. The 3 stumbled into a clearing unlike any they had seen before. Towering stones jutted from the earth, carved with strange symbols, all stained dark with old, dried blood. The air was heavy here, charged, as if the place itself pulsed with energy. One explorer brushed away vines, revealing carvings of men kneeling before a monstrous rex, offering sacrifices. This wasn't just an animal. It had been worshipped, feared, revered as a god of death. Before they could study more, the ground shook violently. From the shadows, the beast emerged, its scales gleaming in the moonlight, its teeth dripping with fresh crimson. The jungle seemed to bow in silence, as if nature itself acknowledged its king. Desperation took over. The survivors raised their rifles, firing wildly. The crack of gunfire tore through the night, sparks flaring as bullets struck scales. But the Rex only grew more enraged. With a roar that shook the forest, it lunged forward. One man was crushed instantly beneath its foot, bones snapping like twigs. Another lit a torch, screaming, swinging it into the beast's face. Fire hissed against its wet skin, the flames briefly blinding one eye. The Rex recoiled, thrashing, its tail whipping through trees like a storm. For a heartbeat, it seemed they might have a chance. But when the beast's jaws snapped again, another body vanished in blood and fire. Only one survivor remained, clutching a torch, eyes wide with terror, as the Rex turned its burning gaze on him. The lone survivor stumbled into another clearing, chest heaving, the torch shaking in his trembling hand. Above, the moon glowed blood red, bathing the jungle in a sickly crimson haze. For a moment, he thought he was safe. But then, the ground quaked, slow and deliberate. The Bloodmaw Rex stepped into the moonlight, larger, more terrifying than ever. Its entire body glistened with blood, dripping onto the soil, feeding the earth with crimson rivers. The man realized the truth. This was no predator of flesh and bone. This was the jungle's curse, reborn with every blood moon, eternal and unstoppable. His scream tore through the clearing as the jaws descended. In the silence that followed, only the drip of blood remained. The legend of the Bloodmaw Rex lived on, thirst unquenched, hunger eternal. The next evening, silence hung over a village at the jungle's edge. Chickens lay dead in their coops, dogs cowered under huts, and every candle flickered low, as if the flame itself feared to burn. Survivors whispered about the storm of the night before, of gunshots echoing, of screams that seemed to last forever. Then, the ground trembled again. Pots rattled, doors shook, and a child cried out before being hushed by her mother. They all knew the meaning of that quake. The Bloodmaw Rex was near. A hunter peered out, bow in hand, only to see glowing red eyes staring from the trees. He dropped his weapon in terror, knowing no arrow could pierce that hide. The beast did not attack. It only watched, breathing heavily, as though it was deciding who to take first. Then, as quickly as it appeared, it vanished into the jungle, leaving dread thicker than smoke. The villagers knew its silence was worse than its roar. Miles away, the lone survivor staggered into a riverside town. His clothes were torn, his face pale, and his eyes hollow from terror. He shouted warnings, rambling of a monster with burning eyes and jaws soaked in blood. At first, no one believed him. They mocked his stories, calling him mad. But as night fell, strange signs appeared. Carcasses of fish floated downstream, the water darkened, and the air smelled of iron. The man grew restless, scratching his arms, muttering that the beast had marked him. Villagers awoke to find blood smeared across their walls, strange claw marks carved into wooden doors. One elder shook his head, whispering that the Bloodmaw does not allow witnesses to live. The survivor had not escaped. It had only given him time to lead the curse elsewhere. Weeks later, the jungle grew louder with unnatural cries, animals fleeing in every direction. Above, the sky burned with the glow of an eclipse, the moon swallowed into shadow, then returning blood red. On that cursed night, the Bloodmaw Rex returned in full fury. Entire herds of animals were slaughtered in its wake, leaving rivers of blood staining the earth. It stormed through abandoned camps, crushing wagons and tearing apart huts. From a distance, villagers watched the forest burn red with its rampage, knowing no wall, no weapon, no fire could stop it. Legends said the Bloodmaw grew strongest during the eclipse, feeding not just on bodies, but on fear itself. As its roar thundered through the heavens, the people dropped to their knees, not in prayer, but in surrender. The curse of the Bloodmaw Rex was eternal, and as long as the blood moon returned, so too would the beast's hunger.